Hey you, come on, sit down. You're sitting at the grown-ups table. I'm your host, Jesse Pimpinella, and as always, my partner in crime.
John Jacobs.
Thank you so much to everybody, and happy Wednesday to everybody. Right now, I'm on location. I'm in a green room right now for a show. So, I'm going to do this before the show starts. But anyways, today we're going to be talking about the latest new movie that came out, Texas Chainsaw Massacre on Netflix.
That was my imitation of a chainsaw, everybody. Don't judge
And
me.
I loved it. And in order to get us in the mood for it, I rehearsed something. Are you guys ready for it? Here we go. This podcast, which you are about to see this Wednesday at 7 p.m. tonight, is the account of the tragedy which befell John, Jesse, and Jesse's wife, Sarah. For them, a legacy sequel to the classic Texas Chainsaw Massacre became a nightmare. The events of the day lead to the discovery of one of the most bizarre crimes in the annals of American history. Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2022. There we go. I had to get my own little...
I love it. You know what it was missing? It was missing that sound that they play like every 30 seconds. The flash bulb goes off. It's like, oh, whoa, wait, we got a guest here. Who is this?
Whoa,
Jesse?
she popped in. She couldn't wait anymore.
I
She
didn't
would
do
be
it.
very good at that. This is my wife, Sarah, everybody. She loves that noise. So that was one of her complaints with the new movie. She's like, this is bullshit. I'm like, what happened? There was no rant during the
they
thing.
just replaced it with a more annoying sound, and we'll get to that on the things that I want to trash talk about it, because that really bothered me really bad.
Now, real quick, to give a little flashback on my wife. My wife is one of the producers on all of my comedy things. Anything I do is comedy. She is a producer of it. She is there from groundwork of everything I do, from shit to it's number one on Amazon. So this is the genius behind the insanity, essentially. So, but honey, I'm so glad that you can join us. I know that you have strong opinions of this franchise.
I can't wait to hear it.
She literally wanted to be on this show so she could shit talk it with you. I mean, I'm sorry, shouldn't get too soon. But anyways, let's get into it right now and just kind of discuss it. So, Texas Chainsaw Massacre is a bit of a confusing franchise. For those who do not know, just to kind of set up the background to this whole thing. So yeah, Texas Chainsaw, then 2, then 3, then Next Generation, I think it was, with the Illuminati.
Yeah.
And it got a little weird.
McConaughey and Zellweger were in was it 3? That was his first big Hollywood film.
That was
4 Generations.
Oh, okay, my bad.
Yeah. There was like some reason. So then at that point, Michael Bay, when he was rebooting like everything, the Friday the 13th movie, the Nightmare on Elm Street movie, he decided to go in this new route with the Texas Chainsaw Massacres. In my opinion, with me and Sarah, we've enjoyed the remakes because they added some depth and background to what was already a great legacy. Sure. With Texas Chainsaw 1 and the prequel Texas Chainsaw at the beginning. Then it decided to wipe the slate clean and do a direct sequel to Texas Chainsaw, which was the cousin one in 3D.
Yeah, that one, oh my God. I went to the theater to watch that, and I was just like, what the fuck is this? He's locked in the basement? Like, what is happening? It's like reverse Flowers in the Attic. I was so confused.
Yeah.
If it was reverse the Flowers in the Attic, then he was doing something.
I mean, what else is he supposed to do down there besides jack it 3 times a day? I mean, I don't know. He's locked in the basement. And then everybody kept asking questions. Why is the door bolted? Don't worry about that. Yeah, and of course you don't want to worry about that. Dude's down there jacking off 3 times a day.
It's just for me, I just loved how he had his little slide door. Like, he was just this grumpy little old man self in the little wine cellar. For us, Sarah and I, we related to this because we're Italian. Every old man
we related to this. We're Italians. That's what we do in Italy.
Yeah, we go to a wine cellar. You ever piss off a grandfather that's in the wine cellar? They want to kill you.
Yep.
Yeah. But anyways, so then that movie came out. Then we had the prequel Leatherface, which was a Devil's Rejects on acid, pretty much.
That's a good way of describing it. I hated that one too.
You hated that one?
Yeah, I did not like it.
Yeah, Leatherface. He's talking about. Yeah, it had a good plot twist, but it's all. It had a great cast, but did nothing with them.
I'll agree with that statement. I'll agree.
They did nothing with them. And then now comes 2022. We have the latest Texas Chainsaw Massacre by the producers that produced Evil Dead, not Sam Raimi and those guys. Those are no. That Fred A guy that I forgot his name.
Asshole.
Yes,
that guy. Yep.
That he produced the reboot. He produced this with no connection to Raimi, so everybody knows Raimi's good name is not going to be in vain tonight.
Okay,
but he made what?
Fede Alvarez had one good movie, and now he just fucks everything up.
He does
because he wrote this fucker. It's all his fault.
I mean, ugh.
I think it learns. There's more fault to go around, but
there's more fault to go around. There sure as hell is. Holy shit!
This movie itself was a massacre. But before we talk about this movie, let's talk about why did we love this franchise? What made this franchise worth revisiting in 2022 when this movie first arrived in 1974? That's almost 50 years later. Why is it so important now?
None of the three of us were alive in 1974. We were still DNA swimming around in a testicle, so I understand that.
Mm-hmm.
But I saw this movie at a really young age. I mean, I was lucky enough that my parents weren't really too restrictive on what I watched, and let's be honest, I had older kids that were friends. I could sneak stuff and things like that. So I saw it at a younger age, and it didn't really scare me the way like Exorcist did when I saw that when I was like 4 or 5, because that freaked me the fuck out. I just thought this was cool. I was like, holy shit, this dude is here cutting people up with a chainsaw, hanging people on meat hooks, clubbing them in the head with the hammer. This old man's trying to eat this woman's hand. Like, I mean, dude, like 7-year-old John was just like, hell yeah. So it didn't really like scare me per se, but I just thought it was awesome. And then as I got a little bit older and started exploring the sequels that followed, we took Leatherface and just turned him into a pop culture icon. I mean, I think at one point we had lancing clashes of chainsaws with Dennis Hopper and Leatherface, which
hey, that was art.
I mean, it was something.
That was art.
It was something. No. I don't know if it was art, but it was something.
Listen, it happened in the 80s. We're discussing it now.
Not art.
I mean, I'm just saying. And then, like, I don't even remember part 3. And then, as you said, we had the Return or the Embrace or whatever with McConaughey and Zellweger. And, it just kept going down and down. But then the reboot in 2000, 3 or 2?
Yeah.
With
3.
Jessica Biel. I actually enjoyed it. I mean, look, it's not perfect, but I was like, this is how you do a reboot. I'm not complaining. I mean, our Lee Emery was in it, and I mean,
dude,
takes the show right there. Mm-hmm. Both films, really. And then 3 years later, they did the prequel to the reboot, which I really enjoyed that one, too. I thought those were great. And then we got to jacking off in the basement, and I was out again. So...
yes, exactly. There's always so much jacking off in the basement when it comes to Texas Chainsaw. Now, Sarah, what drew you to this franchise?
I mean, I was terrified of it when I was growing up. I never watched it. I was so scared of it that when I finally watched it in my 20s, I was like severely disappointed. I thought there was going to be like a lot more gore, a lot of like chainsaw deaths. See, this is what your dogs are doing, Jesse.
I was going to say, Jesse, handle your dogs first.
Yeah, that's all you. Hey.
So, just to follow up with what Sarah says, like Sarah, you would be familiar with this. Oh, sorry.
It's your dog's interrupted, and then you interrupted.
My bad.
I feel like I'm a marriage counselor right now. Okay, Sarah, go ahead, please. Okay. Jesse, give her time.
All right,
like,
Sarah, go ahead.
The original franchise, the second one was good. The third one was boring. I don't remember it.
Mm-hmm.
New Generations is just really fun to watch when you're drunk. Personally, I love it. Except I hate watching it with Jesse because every time Leatherface screams, he screams. It's really annoying. Every time.
Oh, don't do it. Don't do it. Please don't do it.
Don't do it.
The audience doesn't want to hear it.
No, nobody wants to hear it. And then the reboots got me back. I liked the cousin one. I thought it was interesting. And then this one just fucking sucks.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, Sarah, you mentioned how the first one didn't have a lot of violence and gore. Do you think that there was a lot of influence at the time with Psycho, when a lot of Psycho and Peeping Tom were two slasher movies that kind of, they didn't start the craze, but they were kind of the first ones to ignite it. This coming 74, the same year Black Christmas, do you feel that they were trying to go for that Hitchcockian shower scene where you don't see the violence, but it's all in your head?
But I think Black Christmas showed more violence.
It did.
It did.
Black Christmas was more violent. Tobe Hooper was going for the Psycho thing because he wanted it released in theaters, which I appreciate, but like, it doesn't hold up well when you compare it to other horror movies now. I appreciate it for what it is. I'm talking strictly about violence and like gore. It's not that violent. If I'm gonna watch a movie called Chainsaw Massacre, I at least want to see somebody die by a chainsaw. Personal opinion.
It's okay. Let me know when I can jump in edgewise.
All right, real quick before we go any further, let's check out some of the comment section. Became a nightmare. You didn't know it was coming in. Don't buy that. Oh yeah, we knew it was gonna suck. We wanted to watch it anyways.
Yeah, there's the sound.
Yeah,
there it is. Ted got it. Yep, absolutely.
Yep. Oh, that's exactly.
There we go.
You got a lot of junk down there.
I'm not.
Oh.
Yeah. I think Ted gave me a little jab there before he signed off. I think he's at work, so he had to go. Yeah, there we go. See, good old Ted, man.
Ooh, this is a good movie for everybody to write on their list right now. Murder Set Pieces. Yeah, so everybody write that down. That'll be something we can talk about for Halloween. But
I do have one caveat.
Yes.
You have to find the unrated version. Do not waste your time on the R-rated version. Shep and I actually watched the R-rated version, and it's awful. They completely butcher it. Like, you have to go out of your way and find the unrated. If you can't, don't even watch it. It's not even worth it. Just putting that out there. You have to get the unrated version. I happen to have it, but it is hard to find. So
yeah. Well, there you have it. Well, let's go back to this topic. So so Sarah, like I said, you brought up a lot of good points. Now, why do you think the reboots did better than the original movies?
The reboots fleshed everything out.
Agree.
Yeah, like, you realize why the sheriff was so sketchy. Just everything was more fleshed out. It was a longer movie, so it was able to just expand everything that Tobe Hooper did originally.
The one scene I absolutely love is where I'm blanking on his name, the sheriff. What's his name?
Hoyt.
Yeah.
Hoyt. Yeah. So there's one scene where he's checking. They met the sheriff. They have the dead body that's in the trunk that shot the car that shot us. And he's like, "Where's the gun?" And they give him the gun that the girl used to shoot herself, the gun that she had. And he goes, "Interesting." And then he puts it back into his side, in his leg. And I thought that was one of the most gruesome little details, because that told an entire story
that you never saw.
Yeah, within seconds, and it pissed you because you're like, "Fuck this!" You already knew this guy was a piece of shit.
Yeah,
but now you know it's far worse than you could have imagined. You now know that this guy is not only sketchy, but he is connected to that woman's death. And
I agree.
So, and I think they did a phenomenal job with him in the prequel when they show like how he came about the power. How do you become a sheriff? And then you realize that it's a shit town that nobody. He's just collecting that guy's checks every week.
Yeah. And it dried up, and the family had to decide. So hey, fuck it. Instead of moving or becoming nomads, let's just start becoming cannibals, and we'll just make fake checkpoints and murder people as they drive down the fucking road, because that's the easiest solution.
Yeah. And don't forget cutting off a relative's other leg just for symmetry.
Yeah.
Just for symmetry.
Just for symmetry, right? He's like, "Well, I got to cut the other one off now." No, don't.
Oh my god! No,
so real quick, I want to back up to Sarah's points about the first Chainsaw Massacre, and Sarah, I do agree with you, but you have to understand, in 1974, people didn't see this shit yet, and it really did freak people out. Like, people threw up, people left the theater, people were crying, because they weren't used to seeing the level of violence. And even though the first Texas Chainsaw Massacre is definitely less is more in terms of the violence, you don't see people I forget the guy's name, the pretty boy that got killed first. I forget his name.
Cool.
I'm blanking on it.
I know you're talking about.
You don't see his head cut off. You just see his body and the chainsaw go like this from what's her face? I'm blanking on all these names tonight, guys. Because she's hanging on the meat hook. So it's a perception type thing. When Franklin's getting run through, you see the back of Franklin, not the front. So it's very much less is more with the violence, because back then what they showed was already like pushing every single boundary.
Oh yeah.
If they had showed the violence they can show today, because I mean, let's be honest, we're all desensitized to this now. It would have been like they wouldn't have gotten it in theaters. It would have had the NC-17 or the X rating. Like it wouldn't have did what they wanted to do. So they did the kind of less is more with the violence, but the impact that it had on the audience was huge. Yeah. And I think if we didn't have this film, we may not have got to where we are today with slashers, or if we did, it would have maybe did a different journey. Like this is very much foundational to what we have today. I'm not saying it is the definitive, but it's part of that foundation that led to what we have today.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think if I would have saw it a long time ago, I would have liked it more, but because it was so hyped up in my head, I was like, this is going to be amazing. And then I sat down and I'm like, oh,
yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I suffered the same thing too, Sarah. Yeah. Because I mean, the way it is, the less is more. It's a lot like the shower scene from Psycho. You know, it's everything you don't see. You know, because you watch that, she never gets stabbed. You never see an on-screen stab, but you're watching a stabbing in the shower. So I absolutely agree with you on that. But yeah, and just to show, Mike is telling us
he did it on
the Betamax.
The Betamax going way back. That's before both of your guys.
Oh, it is. Yeah. It is.
I can see the question mark above your head. Betamax.
Betamax, is that? Oh my God, they got another streaming service. What the fuck? I'm so sick.
Not a streaming service. Sir.
I'm so sick of this. I'm so sick of this shit. Anyways, let's speaking of streaming, let's talk about the one that was streaming. Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Basically, this was kind of following the playbook for 2018's Halloween, in which it's now this is what, the second or third direct sequel to Texas Chainsaw Massacre at this point.
They just keep doing this.
I mean, we keep saying that they copied Halloween, but then it's like, wait, they kind of didn't. They already did one.
They copied Halloween in the sense that they brought Sally back.
Yes,
for no reason.
Exactly.
Useless character.
So let me just give some backstory with this. So the new movie is about a bunch of Gen Zers, millennials that are buying the what?
You're just like a bunch of Gen Zers. Because those Gen Zers are always ending up in horror movie situations these days. It's never the boomers anymore, or the Gen Xers, or the in between like I am.
You boomers have friends that were slaughtered at Camp Crystal Lake and don't go camping anymore. That's
because they're smarter. They don't go to the fucking camp anymore. Like there's no curiosity. Hey, people got killed. I'm gonna stay away. Well, congrats, you got something right.
It's hilarious how many times they try to gentrify Camp Crystal Lake. I'm sorry, say Sarah.
Except for the boomers in Halloween, they fucking went out there with like an iron.
With the iron, like I'm gonna smash his face in.
You're right,
oh my
Sarah.
God, that's hilarious. That woman, I will never forget when those still shots started making the rounds on the internet, and she straight up is holding I didn't see it when I watched the movie, but then the next day everyone's like, look at this shit. I'm like, holy shit, she's holding a Black & Decker iron from like 1989. What is this? Like it wasn't even a modern day iron. It was old as hell, man.
I wish they had done like a Truman Show where she looks into the camera and tries to sell it real fast.
This iron's still hot, Michael. Hot for your face.
It's about to iron out the wrinkles you
Oh,
caused
there
on
you
this town. Boom.
God.
Yeah,
right
there you
before
go.
Tommy Doyle gets it.
Tommy, yeah. Oh my god. Anyways, well, let's go back to this movie. Gen Zers, they're taking over the town. They bought it. They're auctioning off every part of it so that they can make their like Dante Topia, as Dante called it. And what happens is apparently they may or may not have actually owned a specific house where there was an orphanage that may or may not have housed a known criminal that's been gone for 50 years and was whacking it in the basement for 50 years or upstairs. It seems like he has an upstairs.
He was in the attic this time. It was regular flowers in the attic for this.
Yeah. And where we later see him angry because an injustice happens, and then he pulls a John Wick. He pulls a John Wick by busting through something. He's like, all right,
man, he did. I didn't even.
He busts through the wall
that.
like he's getting his piece. He's like, I got the old reliable chainsaw, and he starts cutting up these people.
All reliable.
My question is, Leatherface was with his family in the first one, right?
Correct. Yeah. Yep. Here we go. Let's go down this rabbit hole.
Why the fuck was he in the orphanage?
And who was that woman?
Yeah.
This is supposed to be a sequel. They even start the film giving a recap of what happened 50 years ago. They're trying to make it meta. And then you're like, well, wait a minute. None of this, none of this happened. Why is he here? Who is this woman? Already gaps. Already. You're just like, why is he in this town with this woman?
You know why? Because only winners get sprinkles, and they don't let the final girl go. So you got disowned.
Why did they have to put the picture in the orphanage with like the face scratched out? This fucker was with his family.
Oh man,
that thing. He was like in his 20s by the time the first movie came out. Like, why the fuck would he go back to an orphanage after that?
I don't know. Honestly, it doesn't make any damn sense. It really truly doesn't. I was from the very beginning. I was so confused. I'm like, why is he in this town? Yeah, exactly. Why is he in this town? Who is this woman? Why are they living here? What happened to the farm? And if these two sheriffs are still controlling the town, how did they have no idea that this like suspect in these like brutal murders 50 years ago, so this guy's like in his 70s now, is living in this house with this woman? I'm sorry, orphanage. With this one. Now, I want to say something about that orphanage when we get to it, because that shit doesn't even make sense.
You brought up a good point about it. We were texting about it. I do want to bring it up. So anyways, so let's talk. So there was a lot of moving parts with this. So we're going to try to line it up with 2018, because it seems like it stole the playbook and it tried to run it and it ran it terribly. So number one, we're getting the legacy sequel. So when it comes to a legacy sequel, it means bringing back all the characters. Now in this case, they couldn't bring back everybody. The person that played the original Sally is dead. The person that played the original Leatherface is dead. So now they had to get a recasting.
And Toby Hooper's dead.
What?
Toby Hooper's dead too.
And Toby Hooper's dead as well. So they bring in Sally, who has been a Texas Ranger, has been looking for this guy for 50 years. But I mean, I don't feel like it had the same impact. Like Sarah, what was your thoughts?
Lori knew where Michael was in that sanitarium.
Yep.
Why wouldn't Sally go back to the town?
Right,
that would be the first fucking place.
You have 200 suspects. You can whittle that down in 50 years.
And the worst part is her grandparents were from that town, so she knew the town. It's not like she was a random outsider who had never been there. She had childhood memories there. Like, she could have just drove down Main Street, looked in random ass buildings, and would have saw fucking Leatherface.
Like, oh, here he is.
Yeah.
I think one of my favorite moments that made me laugh so hard is when she finally is toe-to-toe with Leatherface in that room, and he's just sitting there, I guess, sewing or some shit. She has the gun. She's like, say my name. Say my name.
Right, like, what the fuck are you talking about? Just shoot his ass.
Yeah.
I was waiting for Leatherface to go, Heisenberg. Just like randomly, you're goddamn right. But no, I love the fact that he walked right past her, like she was some little like number that he slept with on the weekend and doesn't talk to anymore.
There you go. The good old Leatherface sail and bail. There it
The
is.
sail and bail.
It was like,
Like
they made Sally look like Jamie Lee Curtis.
They did.
Used the same exact fucking gun.
Yep.
But they didn't make her a badass. Like,
I think it was.
Was she a badass? I don't think so. She shot a gun. Like, there was no prep, and even though I have a huge problem with both of those new god awful Halloween movies, in my opinion, of course, they at least tried to explain, like, she had a family, she did this with her kids, she modified her house, she went through this training, like, she kept tabs on him, there was contingency plans, like this and that, like, there was a whole thing. With this, it was like, oh, hey, I'm Sally, it's 50 years later, yeah, thanks for coming to find me, let's go handle the business. Oh wait, I got my dumbass self-kill.
She literally looked into the camera and was like, I'm Sally and welcome to Jackass.
Yeah,
that's
exactly what happened.
Yeah.
Oh, you nailed it, Jesse. That is exactly what happened.
What I
what is this?
What I loved
this is a
was
circus.
what I love is how ridiculous it was that she held on as long as she did. Like she got hoisted up, chainsawed, made it rain blood, and then she's sitting in the garbage, and somehow she's like willing to give advice to the kid at one point. She's like, hey,
I was gonna wait to bring that up.
Okay,
but if you want to bring it up now.
I was just gonna say, I love what she's like, hey, don't run, you'll always run. And it's like, this is coming from a woman who's dying in garbage. No thanks.
Yeah. So I'm not an anatomy expert, but I know how large a chainsaw blade is, and I'm aware of the damage it can cause soft tissue. I also understand how internal organs and internal bleeding works. And if you get run through with a chainsaw, and then the chainsaw is turned on to make the wound a gaping wound, and then you're lifted up off the ground, causing the wound to be even larger, and then thrown 30 feet into a trash pile, you're dead. You're not going to be able to pick up a gun and shoot and continue to have logical conversations with people. Your ass is dead.
I know.
It's like, what is happening here?
It just felt like a joke. Like I was just waiting for her to randomly stand up after Leatherface died. Like, well, we did it. I'm like, Jesus Christ, where'd you come from?
Good thing I was wearing this body armor. Like, what the fuck are you talking about?
There was just no point for her being in the movie.
Zero.
Like at all.
Literally zero.
She did nothing.
No, she didn't do a single. She was, and that's what I think hurt this movie so much. You know, I mean, not to say that she was a beloved character or a beloved final girl. She was definitely never in my top 10 final girls that I think about when I talk about like, hey, who was the most badass final girls? Okay, I never go, fucking Sally.
That's a you thing.
Well,
it is, and I want to go back real quick to the whole setup and the premise, and also just mention something. There were two big names attached to this movie, and then a whole bunch of never heard before, right? So we had Legendary Pictures and Netflix. Okay, so I understand budgets and such. I get that. But when you have Legendary Pictures and Netflix on board for your film has to look better than a television sitcom. Okay? This is the same problem I had with that god-awful new Home Alone movie, where your sets look so fake that it looked like a sitcom TV show, like external set, like, in Seinfeld, they're walking down the street, or, something like that, where you could clearly tell they're not in New York City. They are just on a set, right? This whole town looked terrible. And again, I can get past that because look, I love low budget filmmaking and things of that nature, so I can understand that. But there are standards when you have certain people involved. And I'm sorry, but that's inexcusable. When I look at your goddamn set and I'm like, I can practically see the 2x4s holding it up, I've got a real big problem with that.
I mean, this is the franchise that made New Generations and decided to throw the Illuminati into the franchise. So, I mean, what standards are left?
Right, you're absolutely right. Were there even any standards? I don't think there was. I mean, the whole premise for the movie was I'm a chef and I've got a fiance and then this curly-haired chick who's my business partner and her sister, and we're going to go change the world. Woo! We're going to buy this town, and then we're going to let entrepreneurs like buy buildings and set up businesses, and then that's going to constitute into tens of thousands of people coming in, because you can open this business, and if you don't have enough people to buy shit from you, you're going to go under. So apparently they thought even hundreds of thousands of people were going to flock to this piece of shit podunk town. And that ain't how like capitalism and business works, folks. So that already annoyed the shit out of me. And they're just like, oh, we're idealists. We're going to change the world. We're doing it. You know, we're not just talking. We're going to buy this town. Like, get this hippie shit out of here, man. That just really bothered me. But you know, it's kind of the Gen Z thing, so I guess it did make sense in that regard. But wow, I was already checked out as soon as that was actually Jesse. I text you and I was like, I think my exact words were, "Hold up a second, what's happening here? Like, this is the plot. Like, this is how they got here. What is happening? Oh my god!"
Now, as Quentin Tarantino once said, you know, despite a movie being bad or horrible, there has to be at least one great thing about it. So, so just to change the pace real fast, we're going to talk about it and see if there's one good thing about it. Now, Sarah, I invite you to the table on this.
Because we have been shitting on it for a while.
Yeah, we've been for like a total, just solidly. Yeah. So, Sarah, what would you say was a positive about this movie? Something that maybe added to the legacy of Leatherface?
I think the only good thing about it was the kills.
Yes, I agree.
Yeah, this movie had the most kills by a chainsaw, which is like amazing for this franchise. But that was the only good thing about it, was the kills.
Yeah, you had the chainsaw that followed the girl under the floorboards.
Yeah.
And then you had the blood orgy on the bus.
So can I say something about that real quick?
Yes, you may.
First of all, I love, again, meta shit. I love the dude that was live streaming and then he got ran through and his blood was going everywhere. And if you look real carefully, there's comments on the live stream. And one of the comments was like fake as fuck. And I literally laughed my ass off. I thought that was hilarious because if somebody was actually, like, if that was happening and they were live streaming, there would totally be people saying fake, fake, fake. So I did think that, like, that made me laugh. Like, I legit laughed. I thought that was hilarious. But guys, come on. You've got 30 people on a bus. Like, I understand this is a big dude with a chainsaw, but 30 people can do one of two things. It can either get the guy out of the way long enough for most people to get off, or maybe if like 6 people all kicked or punched the window at the same time, it would break and they could all get out. But instead, they're just like, I don't know what's going on. Oh my God, people are dying. And I'm like, is anybody thinking, or you're just walking into the chainsaw hoping not to die? That is what happened on the bus. People just stood there or walked into it thinking they were not going to die. And
in
then
the last,
yeah.
In the last 2 years, there have been some incredible bus scenes. You had Bob Odenkirk and Nobody beat the shit out of a bunch of people on a bus. Then you had Shang-Chi beat the shit out of a bunch of people on a bus. Now Leatherface beat the shit out of people on a bus. It seems like the bus is the new place to beat the shit out of people now.
I mean, I get it, but like buses have emergency exits and the windows are made to be easily broken to escape so that what happened doesn't happen. They're literally manufactured that way, and but apparently this was a prison of death for people.
I love that the woman tried to jump through the window at one point when she did get it open. And I'm like, why wouldn't you just run straight for the door? Why are you taking the extra moment to throw yourself over? And yeah, honey, I rewatched this last night so I could be ready for this morning.
Oh my God, you watched it twice?
Oh.
Because I wanted to hate Puckett. I wanted to hate Puckett. But anyways, look, I'm going to say lesson learned, no more public transportation.
Yeah, he's absolutely right.
I just wish at one point he would have just walked onto the bus and he's like, All right, hotshot, pop quiz. The boss gets armed at 50 miles an hour.
You've got a
Just like,
chainsaw, held at your belly, ready to run you through. What do you
What
do?
you
Oh,
do?
let me run into it, hoping I don't die, because that's literally what happened. That one guy live streaming was like, I don't know what's going on. I'm like, what the fuck?
And let's
You
not forget the
guys-
great double penetration with the chainsaw, where the guy's like,
He did.
his like,
I have to admit, though, like, probably I think the most inventive kill in this would have been when he broke the sheriff's arm
oh,
and then
yeah.
stabbed him in the face with his broken bone to
Yeah.
kill him. I was like, there you go. I was looking for a creative kill and I got it. So I was satisfied in that regard. And also, I really liked how when people died, there wasn't a obvious cutaway to a dummy or a special effect. It was one continuous shot, and
Mhm.
that made it better. Like at the end when he pulled the curly-haired girl out of the car
Yeah.
and cut her head off, it was one take, like one, not one necessarily one take, but it was one continuous scene. And he just like got her on the ground. He's like, and it looked great. And if I can imagine watching somebody get their head cut off with a chainsaw in real life, that's what I think it would look like.
Oh yeah.
And they did that on like every kill. They didn't cut away. It was like a realistic kill. And I really do praise them for that. Hopefully that's where the budget went, because it clearly didn't go to other places. But I did enjoy that. Sarah, what you got?
Okay, I'm gonna go back to the bus thing because this is all gonna connect.
Let's go
with
back to the
public-
bus. Yep.
Okay, the first guy that live streamed it.
Yeah.
He was chainsawed the same exact way as Sally. I'm leaving that out there. It was sticking up in the air and back down.
Yeah, you're right.
One died immediately, one did not.
You're right. You're absolutely right. You gotta
Oh
get
my
that
God, I didn't think
drama
about
in
that.
there. Gotta pass that torch. Sally had to live for a little while longer, even though she had a gaping hole in her like this, and none of her organs were functioning anymore.
Yeah.
But yeah, let's just have casual conversation while you're like dead.
She's given just the shittiest advice. Which, by the way, Sarah, I'm so
Her
glad you
advice
brought-
was horrible through the whole movie.
Oh yeah, so bad.
Sarah, I love the one thing you said, and you brought up a good other point. Where did she get that photo of her friends? Wasn't that the photo that the crazy guy took and then
It
burned?
was.
Yeah,
it was. It
So, I
was.
mean, that
Where
was
the hell?
fucking
But
idea.
he burned it. He put the
burned
it.
gunpowder on it and burned it.
Here's what I'm thinking.
And by the way, why would you keep that picture of that guy who caused all your death?
That poor
Okay.
Franklin, man. Who wants to be reminded of that?
Yeah, but Franklin was kind of a dick.
He was.
He was, but he was also kind of that gentle giant guy at the same time,
While yelling at his sister for like literally anything and everything.
Look, the guy had some emotional problems. He was in a wheelchair. Give him some credit, okay?
Yeah, but you can't equate being in a wheelchair to being an asshole.
Look, Sarah, there's a lot of ins, there's a lot of outs. It was the 70s. It was a different time.
He was
people
called
weren't as
invalid.
aware as they are now. Psychology wasn't where it is now. So we just kind of accept that that's how it was back then.
All right.
The fact, like I said, the fact that they called him invalid in the opening monologue just shows you where everything was medically
Right,
during that
right.
time frame. Because
Right.
they made it sound like he was like on an iron lung.
They
was
did.
so-
They really made it sound like he was on the brink of death, and really he just was in a wheelchair, and he was totally fine outside of that.
Yeah, and he even moved his legs. So I don't think they informed the actor whether Franklin was like a paraplegic or something.
Mhm.
They were like, yeah, it's fine. Just throw him in the wheelchair. Like it's fine.
That kind of reminds me of that scene from The Changeling that you and I watched, where
Yeah.
George, you want to set that up?
Oh
You don't have to. You don't have to. You don't have to.
no. Okay. So John, have you seen The Changeling?
I don't think I have, or if I have, I don't remember it.
You won't need the context for it.
Okay. So there's about one of the ghosts, because a ghost was killed for being an invalid. I'm gonna put this out there. I have arthritis. This makes sense in
Me
the
too.
context of this. So in the letter, or you find out that the boy was such an invalid, wouldn't reach the age of 21, and he was stricken with arthritis.
The way they kept saying it, they made it sound
It
like
was
it was
so
a terminal
funny.
illness.
Yeah, like he was stricken. Look, arthritis is some nasty shit and can really wreak havoc on your body. But like that framing, like just the like hyperbolic like drama of how
Oh.
that's positioned. Is
Oh,
just
and the way he got murdered.
stricken
So
with arthritis.
the kid was in the bathtub, and the dad just lifted his legs and drowned him that way.
Oh,
That's
wow.
how like stricken. It was
Oh.
so funny.
So I'm definitely watching The Changeling tonight. I'll tell you that right now. You
It's on
sold me.
Shudder.
On Shudder. Now let's go. So yeah, like I said, it was a different time, and I think one of the interesting things about this movie, and specifically, is this franchise, out of many other, it always comments on the time it lives in.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Like
I
the
agree with that.
70s, you had the hippie girl that was like, oh my god, all this weird stuff is happening. We must be in retrograde. I mean, she's
Oh
using the
god, that
horoscope.
whole retrograde discussion, that's worthy. But again, you're absolutely right, Jesse. It really cements you in the 70s. Like astrology was huge then. You know, people were still hippies and shit. So
Yeah.
you know, perfect conversation for that. But yeah, I've recently watched it and I was like, oh, this is definitely cringeworthy.
The prequel reboot had the burning of the draft card reference.
Yeah, I like that though. I like that though because I like that dynamic between the brothers. Like that made a lot more sense.
No, I'm saying that's good.
Uh-oh.
He froze.
Jesse has frozen.
I'm saying these are positives about that. I like that they all looks like our images went out. Okay, we're back.
No, you're still not back, Jesse.
What I'm trying to say is I like the fact that they comment on the times.
Nope. And he's back.
He's back.
He's back,
Unfortunately.
kind of, sort of.
Yeah, sorry. I think we just had a weird cutoff.
No, you're good. Technical difficulties, guys. So, I also want to before we kind of move on to the ending, I want to talk a little bit about one of the biggest plot holes that I identified in this movie that I talked to Jesse about last night, and he's like, "Oh, I didn't even think about that." So, this town,
it's a good one,
called like Hollow or whatever, Holloway, Harlow, whatever the fuck the name of the town is. It clearly has a population sign of less than 200 people, and I'm generally assuming that when this sign was erected, it was in the heyday, in the prime of this town, right? And there's still less than 200 people. Yet they have this gigantic town center for less than 200 people. And in the most prime real estate location out of this entire town, you have a fucking orphanage in a gigantic, bigger than the courthouse. So I don't understand where all these babies are getting adopted out to from this orphanage when this town is less than 200 people, yet you have this gigantic facility big enough for this woman. We have no fucking idea who she is. I mean, she's the Borg Queen, but outside of that, we have no idea who she is. Leatherface is apparently chilling in there with her for 50 years after he massacred people that didn't actually happen, but it did happen. And so I'm just thoroughly confused at the construction of this town and how this town even survived before all this shit happened.
Yeah.
There's
nothing.
There's nothing. Exactly. That's because it's a backlot set. That's why.
It's just.
Yeah. Hold on. So yeah, he's got a point. Shep's got a point.
Exactly. You just jack it in every corner of that orphanage. He's dropping loads in every single room. Guarantee it. Leatherface load, Leatherface load, Leatherface load. And after 50 years, it adds up. You know, maybe some life grew on it. I don't fucking know. I'm not a biologist.
We don't know.
I mean, we did go pretty gross with that, but this is at the grown-ups table, so that's what we do.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. One thing I did like about Leatherface is he used the woman, his mother, as a mask. I always think it's very interesting symbolically because I feel like he was trying to, torment the people that tormented her. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that's how I always read it. It's like, all right, you caused the death of her. Guess what? She's gonna be the last thing you see when you die. Because why didn't he go for the other people's faces? He went for her face. So I always thought that was a very interesting thing.
Okay.
Like, it kind of reminded me when the Jessica Biel one, where he put the boyfriend's face on, and then he looks at Jessica Biel, and Jessica Biel freaks out because it's the boyfriend. He still has the mustache on it. So I thought it was a very interesting choice.
They did that with Matt Bomer's character.
That was in the beginning, the prequel, because that was after he ran him through in that table.
Yeah.
And then and put it on. But that also does bring up a point too. I am much more of a fan of somebody else's old aged face, Leatherface, than I got a fresh new face, Leatherface.
Yeah.
If that makes sense on what I'm saying. I like the I've had this face for a while. It's tethered, it's torn, it's browned, it's shrunk, it's tight, like leather skin, like that 60-year-old bar woman that goes tanning 5 times a week and has tight, leathery skin with wrinkles all over it. Like, I like that face. I don't like the I just cut your face off and this is my fresh face. I don't know. Like, it's cool, but to me, if Leatherface has an older face, to me that's like age, and that's like commitment, and there's a history to that face. I'm way more interested in that old face than I am the new face, because I saw how he got the new face. I don't know how he got the old face, and I like not knowing how he got the old face better, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does.
No, that makes sense. I mean, that's the whole.
I was surprised that he didn't pull out a face with the chain. I'm already talking.
I think there's a delay with Jesse right now.
Yeah, there is.
Connection, so.
I'm surprised he didn't pull out a mask with the chainsaw. Like, I really thought they were gonna do that since they were stealing everything else from Halloween. I thought they would have stolen that too, because that was like a big scene. He puts on the same mask at the trunk of the car. I really thought he was just gonna pull out the same face from 74.
That would have been cool. And I would have given this movie like maybe this much more cool points if they had done that. I like your idea a lot. I think that would have not only been a cool callback, but it would have made me think, okay, maybe this piece of shit movie, even though it's still a piece of shit, isn't so bad, because that was pretty dope. But they didn't.
They just didn't care.
They didn't. And
it was blatantly obvious.
Can we talk about not the finale, but like leading up to the finale with this whole swimming pool thing? So like they go into the pool, like the sister and Leatherface, they go into the pool, and then you just get a shot of like the surface area. And then she comes up from the pool without Leatherface. And I'm like, hold on a second. What? How can you show us them both going into the pool with Leatherface, this gigantic, bulging, like, mass of a man? And you have this they go into the water together, and you see nothing, and then one emerges. And I'm like, what? This doesn't make any goddamn sense. So then curly-haired sister shows up, and instead of cutting his head off, running him through because she has the chainsaw, cutting off appendages, she just does a Mortal Kombat uppercut and just like cuts his chin. And then he falls into the water, and they're like, he's dead. He's dead. We did it. We killed Leatherface. And I'm like, at what type of reality are you in where you think he is dead? You cut his chin. Like, what is happening here? So then they get in the Tesla, and they're like, drive us home. And it's like, doo-doo, driving home. And Tesla starts driving at literally 3 miles per hour. And Leatherface pulls curly-haired girl out of the car while the car is traveling at 3 miles per hour, and the other sister gets out of the fucking sunroof and is like, no, don't kill my sister. I can't stop it because the Tesla's driving itself at 3 miles per hour, and he cuts the bitch's head off. And I'm just thinking, like, this is Austin Powers with the steamroller again.
It
Like,
is.
there is so much time to do anything, but you did nothing. And you just drove away into the sunset as slow as possible while you watched your sister get her head cut off. But then
Yeah.
Leatherface didn't, like, run to catch up with the car. But yet earlier in the movie, he can throw his chainsaw at it, and the car just magically veers off the road and crashes, because that would happen. But yet it's driving 3 miles per hour and you can't do anything. You can't throw that chainsaw at her and cut her head off at the sunroof. Like, what? It boggles my mind with the decisions that are made in this movie.
It's that one guy. He's just not good at writing.
But can we agree that we were happy that?
Oh, sorry.
Happy that what, Jesse? I think he's totally frozen now.
He is.
Oh, no, he's coming back.
I apologize. We're having a little technical difficulty. I apologize about that. But Sarah, what were you saying?
I'm just saying the guy that wrote this, Evil Dead, was a fluke. He made one good one, and that was it.
I think it's clear. I'm not sure.
And that's the thing. Like,
oh, there he is.
Keep talking, Jesse.
Yep. No, okay. So, anyways,
there he is.
It's very clear it's kind of a fluke. I mean, yeah, it's kind of a fluke. And I mean, with this movie, I feel like a lot of times no one knows what to do with Leatherface.
Yes,
because
correct.
He isn't as personality as the other characters that exist. Scream, you know, I mean, Ghostface, you know, basically Ghostface is about movies. It's one of the things that draws us to him. How many movie tropes do we have? That makes Ghostface interesting. Freddy, how many great one-liners can you throw out after you kill somebody? That's funny. That's entertaining. Jason, he's a big, lovable oath who wants to do good for his mom. Who can't relate to that? Halloween, you know, he's this chaos element that goes through a town and creates all of it. We love watching that chaos element. But with Leatherface, I feel like there were so many things about Leatherface that we never really rooted ourselves in one thing. It's a cannibal, all right? He doesn't talk. He doesn't have a personality. We know that he has a weird fear of showing his face. Like his personality is so different in every single movie, no matter what. I mean, I think the most consistent his personality has been is the first and the second movie, and after that, it's been very, very different. You know, like he's either really, really dumb, or he's really, really smart, or he's very, very lovable, and he just wants to be loved, and he's just an animal that's defending his territory. There's a bunch of things. There's never one single little thing about him.
So I think one of the other mistakes that not only happened in this film, but all the subsequent Texas Chainsaw Massacres after the original, and maybe not counting the two good reboots, is that Leatherface isn't supposed to be a lead, but they go out of their way to try to make him a lead now in every movie.
Yes.
Just like they did with Halloween. And you show the guy too much, you give too much, you stop caring. Because the whole thing is I don't want to know anything about this guy. I got it. You told me he's crazy. He's this giant, bulbous, like just evil creature that just mercilessly kills people. I'm good with that. I don't need anything else. And when you keep trying to give it to me, or you give them 50 minutes of screen time. Oh, by the way, in a film that's only like an hour and 14 minutes long. I mean, hey, it clears the criteria for a major motion picture. I think the rule is like 58 minutes, something like that it has to be in order to count as an actual motion picture. But wow, guys, you couldn't come up with anything else. And I mean, look, that was an hour and 15 minutes plenty, but goddamn, what a short fucking movie.
All they had to do to make the movie better was do one extra scene with Sally, one more background with Sally, bump up the runtime, add just better quality to begin with, and it would have been so much better.
Yeah, it would have been decent. And if I cared about Sally and Sally actually did something that was impactful in the film, and maybe her sacrifice was so that something else could ultimately happen that was I cared about or was worthwhile, 100%. I'm with you. But they didn't.
Yeah.
So.
No.
They didn't.
Yeah.
So
last thing, on time. I want to get to our topic.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
So we already kind of talked about that, Jesse.
I was
The
gonna
last one
say, do
is
you want to do
there we go.
comparing, or do you want to talk about what's next?
Now, what's next? We already did the comparing at the beginning. So what's next? Sarah, what's next for you? Is this a dead franchise? Do you want to see another one or get tired of it? Like, where are we at?
I mean, if another one pops up, yeah, I'll watch it. Do I want it to happen? Fuck no.
Yeah, I'm done.
No, like if you're gonna reboot this franchise again, make it worthwhile.
Right.
Like we've had some really great reboots recently, and you pick the one year where we have a Chucky TV show, Scream, and Halloween Kills, and you're like, hey, let's throw this half-ass movie on Netflix. Like what? No, no.
I
Yeah,
definitely
I
agree.
agree.
Oh, sorry, Jesse. Go ahead. I think there's a delay with us and you now, so I apologize. We're not trying to
Yeah.
overtalk you.
No, you're okay. I'm saying I agree with you, Sarah, 100%. I would just say I'm going to yield my time in saying what's next to our followers. Tom Cook, please. No more jerk in the basement.
There it is,
The Bride of
Tom.
Leatherface.
There it is, Bride of Leatherface. Let's do it. Yeah, he doesn't have to jerk it anymore. He's got a wife to do it.
Yeah, I like this idea of an Ash Leatherface chainsaw fight.
Oh, crossover.
Pushing for years. Yeah, so maybe that might be maybe that's the crossover we need. But seriously, with this movie, I just think again, make him the side character. He's Beetlejuice. You know, Beetlejuice was a side character, but that's where he brained the hardest. You know, let him be the side. Let the family be the evil thing. You know, in the reboots, the family was the evil thing. The first two movies, the evil was the family. So that's where the movie is good. And I agree with you. I don't think Leatherface has the personality to be up front. Does he have the personality to be the biggest threat? Absolutely. I think he does, but you put him in the right place.
Right.
You put him in the right place. But up front, no, you're right, sir. He doesn't. So that's my opinion. If they're going to move forward with this, I think they need to pull Blues Brothers and get the band back together. And don't tell me that some of those family members aren't alive. You saw the grandfather in the first one. That guy was dead, and he was somehow still alive. I want that guy back, where he's just a jar, and he's just
the glass just and Morse
code. Like killer. He's just in a jar. That's what I want.
I can't tell.
Bring it back.
Did they set
Family
up
reunion.
a sequel?
I don't think
go back to the house.
Really did. I mean, the girl drives away in the Tesla. Her sister's murdered. Leatherface is still there. All the investors are dead. So clearly the FBI and the marshals need to get involved now. So I'm assuming the Tesla takes her to the marshal office.
Well, he goes home.
Texas or wherever that takes place.
Yeah, John, did you watch the post-credit scene?
Oh, Christ, no. I was out as soon as that movie was over. Was there a post-credit scene? Did I miss something important? Do I need to go back and watch it?
He walks back to the house. That's all it is.
No, he's just walking.
It's like Rambo. Oh, great job, guys.
Oh, my God. Yeah, it was actually.
Yeah.
No,
look
John.
At Jesse's face
joking.
now. The bomb just went off in his brain. So I got to say, as we wrap up.
No, literally. Choreography, it's the same thing as John Rambo's end scene.
Yeah.
Holy shit, John.
Yep.
Oh
so
my God.
all we really got out of this movie, like this movie is a great example of how can you literally take every single horror trope and put it into one film. It wasn't just like one or two and we're going to bank on it. It was all of them. The only thing it was missing was boobs.
Honestly, this movie was just an amalgamation of every popular horror movie, but executed so poorly. I did like Dante. I liked his character. He was a likable guy, and I was really sad on how brutally he got killed. Yeah,
he wasn't likable at all, dude. He knew he didn't have the deed. He knew he didn't have the deed.
I liked him. I liked him. I mean, okay,
I watched it the second time. He was literally going through the house, and he literally said, "Where is that deed?" He literally said that. Where is that deed?
I mean, okay, fine, but who cares? You're evicting the Borg Queen and Leatherface. No one gives a shit about these people. They should have been dead anyways.
True.
They didn't have a right to be there. The town was vacant.
Clint Eastwood was next door from the Gran Torino. Get off my property.
Oh,
my lawn.
Well, they had the rebel flag hanging up, so that goes hand in hand. There you go.
true, very true.
There you go.
All right, Jesse, let's wrap this thing
Oh,
up.
man. All right. Well, anyways, I want to thank everybody who tuned in. I want to thank the comment section for lighting it up. Al, Shep, Tom, Michael, other Tom, Ted. Thank you so much. You guys rock. Thank you to everybody who watched and tuned in. And make sure you check us out on YouTube. This whole episode will be put up next day for you to watch the whole thing through in case you missed anything. I want to thank my wife, Sarah, for joining me and joining us on the show. You always are a rock star with us. Thank you. There's times where you're just the cameo on the show, but when you come on here, man, you light it up. So thank you.
I love Sarah episodes. They're great.
Thank you.
Oh yeah, Sarah episodes are fun. But anyways, stay tuned for next week. We'll be announcing the next talking point that we'll be discussing. So make sure you follow us, like us on Facebook and YouTube, like and subscribe us. And until next time,
I'm John.
Oh,
and
great. Now
you've been sitting at the grown-ups table. Have a good night, folks, and thanks for watching.
All right. I think we're about off.
Nope, not yet.
Nope.